Hello and welcome to Weaving the Magic and to this astrology story. I read astrology in the way where the planets are actors. The signs are the characters that those actors become, and the houses are the scene or the setting in which the act happens. The drama is the aspects. It is how Mars and Venus interact in your charts or in the transits that are happening. All the world is a stage, and all of the people merely players. That is what we are, and that is what astrology reflects. So when I read a person's astrology chart, what almost literally happens is I pull the chart, I look at it, and I start seeing the life play out. I see the characters start to come to life as I look at this planet is in this sign and in this house, and oh, look at that relationship. I start to see the little dramas and the little narratives unfolding. And generally, the same or similar patterns or themes or acts are repeated over and over again in different fractals throughout the thing. Essentially, the whole chart is many different ways to read the nuances and the small little components that make up the larger story of who a person is, if it's a natal chart, of what the event is about, if you're reading about, a moon event or an eclipse or whatever the thing is, the day of some special spectacular thing. The chart itself tells you the story once you know how to read who and how the characters are being and interacting. So it's endlessly fascinating to me. People are endlessly fascinating. There are endless amounts of fascinating stories, and the very best part is that just because the story shows up, and you have the characters and the scene and the setting and the possible, whether it's an opposition and you have to balance these out, or a square and this tension or this trine and it's this loving, wonderful thing, all of those could go any which way. Because not only are we talking about that one person's or event's chart, but everything else that interacts with it. So the chart shows the destiny, shows the blueprint, shows the intention of the soul, but it can't possibly show the free will of that soul. It can't possibly show how you're living it. The transits can show what is activating you right now, what is motivating you, what's kicking your ass right now, all of the things that are being heavily influenced, but also nothing can be forced upon us. Astrology doesn't make us do anything. It gives us the opportunity. It gives us the stage and the characters and the setting to do with whatever we want. We get to write the story. All we got handed was a bunch of almost blank pages with a here's how it starts and a pen. Many pens. All sorts of different colored pens. And just nothing but time. Nothing but time. And the ability to watch it, get all wrapped up in it, feel victimized by it, or empower ourselves to step back outside of it, see it, see the pen in our hand, see the script that we're writing. Astrology is endlessly incredible. And if you haven't had your chart read by an astrologer, if you've done the thing, like I started learning astrology, I self-taught. I would search engine all the little different components of my chart once I learned the glyphs and the symbols, and I could decipher and discern, like, oh, this little symbol means my sun is in this, and it's in this house. So I would search sun in this house, and I'd look, what do the houses mean? There's so many components to study. It's like learning a language. But it's worth the adventure of learning, says the Virgo in the third house. My sun, my south node, my Mercury right near. I love learning. I love learning what makes me go and what makes me tick. So of course I would love astrology. And if you landed on this video and this channel and you're interested in that, do that. Do that self-discovery. Do that research. But I will gloat about the fact that I have very reasonable pricing for my personal astrology chart readings that I offer on Zoom calls. So wherever you are in whatever time zone you live in, I will accommodate, because I feel like it's my job to, and it's not even my job. Yes, it is. It's my job because my work is the play that I enjoy the most. So it is my job, my claimed right, to have the work of showing people the beautiful blueprint and enticing them into the desire to pick up the pen and start writing their own script. All I want to do is show you what your soul was like, here's the antagonist, you're the protagonist, here's the grit, and here's the good stuff. Here's what you've got to work with. Now what can you create out of it? Once someone has said to you, like, yeah, but look at it this way. And this is coming from a person who found my way to my own astrology chart, astrology in general, and all of the things, because I couldn't figure out why I was so wrong, bad, not right, different, getting it skewed. I couldn't figure out why I was the way I was. And then I did. And then I stopped judging it like it was wrong. And I really just want to give every single person that I ever interact with the opportunity to do that. Like, really. So, if you cannot afford anything, send me a message and we will work something out. I believe in even exchange. I do. And it does not have to be monetary. But even a pay it forward is an exchange. And genuinely, I want to do more of what I love. I haven't had the opportunity to read many charts lately. I would like to scale up my business and start doing more readings. But this isn't a sales pitch. It's a genuine offer. So if you want a reading and you want to pay me and you can, reach out. If you want a reading and you can't pay me, reach out, because I want to. Now, moving forward into the rest of this video, so let's talk about the houses, because this matters the most. When I first look at a person's chart, the chart is always the same, in a way. The chart always has 12 houses, 12 signs, depending on what system you use. And by the way, I read Western astrology. This is not Vedic astrology. I don't, all forms of astrology, in my opinion, are relevant. The language that I speak most clearly is Western tropical astrology. I don't do whole sign houses. I do based on Placidus house system. When I first look at a person's chart, you see where the houses are. You see what's the biggest, what's the smallest. But most importantly, the chart starts on this horizon line. The first house starts right here on the horizon line. And this horizon line that runs through is the ascendant and the descendant. It is the rising sign. It is the sign that is rising on the eastern horizon at the moment when you're born. So your rising sign is the first glimpse of you. It's the first sign that people see. It's the first archetype that people feel in you when they meet you, when you walk into a room. It's what your energy signature carries. Now, if your sun sign is something completely different, sometimes you could be really confusing to yourself or other people. My sun sign is a Virgo. That's a critical middle road, mutable sign, practical, tangible, I need to fix and serve and have the answers and do things. My rising sign, though, is Cancer. And Cancer is cardinal energy, initiating quality, water. It's the baby crying out for its mother, or the mother saying, "Oh, sweetheart." That's how I feel to people when I first meet them. So when they snuggle up to my softness and cuddle in my cocoon of warmth, and then later find out that I'm hardcore intense about my self-growth and I actually hold people to the same critical level of accountability that I hold myself to, if you want to be a partner and journey with me, that's like, oh, wait, you changed. No, I didn't. You mistook my softness for the whole of me. You felt my rising sign and you climbed into my little shell and you weren't anticipating that my cave went much deeper, but it does. This is why astrology is important, because without knowing myself, I could be told, you've changed. You used to be so kind and so sweet and so nice, and now what is this? No, this is just me saying, these are my boundaries. These are my expectations. This is my expectation for reciprocal respect and exchange, and if you aren't providing it, then I won't be of service to you. No more of my softness. Without me knowing that, I become insecure, and I go hyper into service and hyper into caretaking other people's soft, squishy emotions and becoming the mother role for people who I have no business mothering. Does it make sense? I know it does. So moving on, that rising sign impacts a lot. The rising sign may not always be the same sign that takes up the first house, though. My rising sign is at 21 degrees. So there's only 8 degrees left of Cancer in my first house before it hits the next sign of Leo. So my first house starts at the sign of Cancer. So the first house being the sense of self. I came here and inhabited a self of this. Little bit of Cancer, a whole lot of Leo. All the Leo is waiting behind that little Cancer crab. And it is exactly a metaphor for who I am. If you can get inside my shell, you're part of my pride, you're part of my tribe, you get my heart, you get my courage, my leadership. I do want to take on that mother role in a healthy position of being that lioness that guards the throat of the lion or takes care of the cubs and is in sisterhood with her fellow lionesses. That is me. That's the first house. The first house is the self. It's the self concept, and it's the way your self shows up, is felt, is expressed if you're healthy and expressive. Otherwise, it's just what's there waiting to be acknowledged and withering away. Moving into the second house, this is where typically we gain the body. The first house is Aries. Doesn't mean Aries is in your first house. It's not in my first house. It is the default belonging of Aries. Aries being the first fire sign, the spark of, I'm a divine spark of consciousness incarnate into this world. I have a will. I am. Now we move into the second house, which is Taurus ruled. Taurus is an earth sign that's like, the bull, I'm here. I landed with all my heavy weight. I'm in a body. I'm grounded. There's some physical value here. There's some physical body, vessel, world to behold. It also is so beautiful to be housed in a body as a vessel. There's something very heartening and landing about the second house. And it is about the resources, how you're being resourced with a body, with wealth, with provision, with food, with shelter. The second house is all about having. We move into the third house. This is ruled by Gemini. Again, doesn't mean Gemini is in your third house. It's not in mine, but Gemini owns the third house dominion. Gemini is twins, duality. I see you, you see me, sometimes not the same. sometimes the same. And this causes us to go off on adventures of curiosity. The third house is all about, what do we think about? How are we learning? How are we communicating? It's about siblings, sibling rivalries, and also brother and sister community. It's the first basis of community on a small scale level. How do I relate to another individual as a child would? Because Gemini is the first air sign, spouting off, curious, what's this, what's what, what's this, what's that, following all of the little sparks. The third house is what lights you up with curious little sparks, how you learn, how those things that you see reflect in your mirror neurons to help you learn you versus the mirror. The fourth house, then, is where this all comes home. We got the spark of a soul. We got the body to bring it home into. We've started exploring our curious world and surroundings around us. And now all of that evolves into, wow, what is this? Oh, emotions. I'm feeling emotions. And those emotions have a home inside my body. The feeling of home. How many poems have been written about the feeling of home? How many loves begin when you recognize that person as the feeling of home? This is the fourth house and the sign of Cancer. The fourth house is also the root. There's a vertical line that runs up through the center of the chart, the IC, the Imam Coeli, and the MC, the midheaven. Midam Coeli? I don't remember. Midheaven. And it doesn't always go straight up. It's the highest point. It sometimes leans off to the side. It depends on your exact chart. But that thick black line that runs through at the bottom is the root. This is the tree of life. The root is the mother, Cancer. It's the root feelings of, were you nurtured? Were you loved? Were you brought into the shell? Or have you always had an open clam shell full of irritation, creating you out of the grit into a pearl from the beginning? This is the womb and the exiting of it. The womb of the family home, of the childhood, of the experience with your mother. All of those experiences reside in the fourth house. What made you, where you came from, for better or worse. Then we move into the fifth house. And in number 5, 5 being the number of change, of extremities. I could lift my legs, but I'm sitting and they're not on camera. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The extremities of the Venusian woman or man. This is all about experience. We change from like the first the first 4 signs of this very inner cultivating ourselves journey, formation of the ego in all 4 elements of the will, the spirit, the body, the physical, the intellect, mind, curiosity, and then the emotional water fulfillment. Now we've got that. We've got the first full set. 5, fifth house, brings the change into expression. This is the house of Leo, the sun. Leo, the roar. Leo, the lion. The fifth house is about, how do you express the ego that you are, the self that you've built? What do you create with it? How do you experience those creations? In the fifth house, you find things like the children that you make, the creations that you make, the experiences that you want to be hands in on. This is about play. This is about joy. This is about recreation. It's about moving your actual physical body and spirit. It's about, what are you passionate about? When I look to someone's chart that is like depressed and they want to know, how do I get out of this? Fifth house is where I look. What is in your fifth house? If there's no planets there, or if there are, what sign is there? How is the way that your soul feels the most comfortable expressing, experiencing? What did you come here for the experience of? that sign, that planet in your 5th house leads you to, like, what could make me happy? Which runs to the next house, the 6th house. The 6th house is the everyday. It's the routine, it's the structure, ruled by Virgo. Virgo of the gut instinct of what do I do? This is also the house of service. So in my daily habits, what am I being in service to? When I wake up and do the same old, with no changes at all, I'm in service to routine. My 6th house has Sagittarius. My soul calls me to be in service to exploration, actually. Every day, it's my job. 6th house is of vocation. What kind of career should I have? What should I be doing every day? That we look to the 6th house. Whatever is there tells us how to create the patterns or the habits in our lives that will actually serve us, so we can serve whatever purpose we have in the world, whatever we're meant to experience. Every day begins and ends with ourselves. And I want to draw this thick line here at the end of that 6th house. From the 1st house to the 6th house, this is the bottom of the chart. The whole first cycle of knowing self. And this is only the first 6 signs. Again, we completed the first set of signs with 4. Now we're only halfway into the second set, but this is everything involving us, me, individual, self, I. Once we hit the end of that 6th house, now we're moving into the upper half of the chart where we start relating outwardly to other people. This is everything to do with me. This is everything to do with the outside. Which brings me to the 7th house, because it's about relationships. And me personally, being in right relationship with anything means being in right relationship with everything, which doesn't mean perfecting anything. It simply means recognizing that everything is a relationship. This is the 7th house. The 7th house is about one-to-one relationships specifically. So in that whole first half, we met ourselves. Now in the 7th house, we are actually meeting the other person. We're meeting another person, and it's that like initial harmony where it's like I sing my heart's song and you sing your heart's song, and we're like Aurora and Prince Charming finding each other in the woods, and the birds are singing and the squirrels are coming along, bringing us together. This is Libra's domain. 7th house, relationships, intimacy, all of this joyful, beautiful, look what happens when I show up and you show up, and oh, the blending, and it's lovely. But it's not always just lovely. It deepens, it evolves. In the next house, which is Scorpio's domain, the depth, the deep emotional depth. Oh, before I move on one step backward, I want to mention that Libra is an air sign, and the singing and the songs and the bird thing, that is like, it's also intellectual harmonization. In the 7th house, we learn how to not only just, it's not about romantic partnerships, but harmonizing. Libra is the scales of justice. The 7th house is how do we harmonize ourself in and among the world. And if in the 7th house, if in our Libra sense of selves, we sacrifice the inner harmony for the outer harmony, we turn into Scorpio Scorpions in the 8th house, and transform into this bitter, resentful thing that wants to sting. Let me not get it too ahead of myself in the signs, because I started going there. In the 8th house, though, it's about the depth of those relationships. It's about how deep do they go, and are they honest at the depths? Because we can harmonize on the outside, but if the underneath is discordant, things are going to start falling apart. So you better check the basement of your relationships, of your subconscious, of how you are showing up in those relationships. Because if you don't go deep enough, if you aren't aware deep enough, those things will come back to sting you. But if you do go deep enough, this is the depth of transformation. The 8th house is the underworld. It is where we meet those deep, dark, hidden, subconscious things, and we seek and allow for them to transform us. Scorpio is represented by 3 different signs: the Scorpio, the Eagle, and the Phoenix, because there's so many transitions, transformations that can happen in this place. And or you could get lost in the depths. Which is why the 9th house is eventually necessary to evolve into. Because the 9th house, ruled by Sagittarius, and the glyph that is the arrow, is saying, let's climb out of the depths and seek further beyond me into the outer. This is about culture. It's about exploring the world. It's about traveling. It's about getting outside of your own limited perspective based on where you have always been. It's about moving your feet, turning around, and seeing how the perspective changes once you've put yourself in someone else's shoes or path, or many of them. This is the house of learning different languages. And depending on your placement there, for me, 9th house is the language of the divine. My 9th house contains my North Node in Pisces. And so my 9th house is Rumi wandering through the desert, writing poetry. The 9th house is, where did the depth of us take us on the opposite trajectory to the heights? Because the 9th house then, what we explore, leads us to the 10th house, the cusp of which is the midheaven, that thick black line that comes up from the root of the tree of life of our chart to the top, the arrow that points, this is what you came here for. This is your destiny. That North Node, that's a point in the chart that decides, scratch that, that states, this is what you came here to become, to embody more of. But the midheaven, this is the legacy mark. This is where you were always going. This is what you were pointed at. This was what your aim was. Your eyes were focused on this when you incarnated in this life. I will say that the midheaven is not always the strongest thing determining whatever. If you have other aspects or you have patterns that are really strong, like I have a yod, and a yod is a finger of God. It's the thing that points to, like, it's all about this. But as I said in the beginning, oftentimes when I see a chart, I see one pattern repeated in different fractals across the chart. My 0 Aries midheaven is the same as the apex of my finger of God yod. It's not in the same part, but it says the same thing in a slightly different phrasing. So the midheaven, though, is that space in the chart. It's that top point that says this is what you came here to be and become, because the 10th house is about how you're seen by others in the world. Not the rising sign of how you're felt, but how you're seen for your accomplishments, for what you've become. Where Cancer is the bottom, and the 4th house, the IC, Capricorn is the opposite archetype at the top, ruling the 10th house, the leader of the midheaven, because Capricorn has been building itself all throughout the chart. Capricorn is the mountain climber. It is the house, this 10th house, midheaven, is the place in our chart where we say everything is a build-up to this. This is what I've wanted to build myself to be, to become the monument that's left of me. That's the midheaven. That's the 10th house. This is how we build ourselves, like the Emperor card. And then in the 11th house, this is where our accumulated self, our built self, becomes a part of society. recognizes itself as part of the whole human family and not just a separate self, the bottom of the chart, relating to the various aspects of the outer. The 11th house is about where it starts to all come together intellectually. We think about humanity. We innovate about how could this get better. We think outside the box. This is the 11th house ruled by Aquarius, the star card. Miracles manifesting. Larger than life beings that are outside of our world, outside of our perspective. Aquarius is the new age we've been moving into. This consciousness of humanity has been evolving into the Aquarian way. And that 11th house Aquarian thing is considering all of us, considering everyone, and not forgetting yourself as a part of that. 11th house is, how do I do the dance of everything that I've been? Consider the monument of me, and then also consider whether that monument needs to stand or whether it might actually be better for me to tear down the monument of self and maybe reuse, recycle, and redistribute those materials so that everyone can create art, so that everyone can feel monumental, which drops us into the 12th house. Pisces, what other world are we in? It's the end of the road. It's the last place we end up before we incarnate again. This is the emotional understanding, the awakening, the spiritual dissolving of the ego self back into the I am one drop in the ocean of waves that blend us all together. I'm not really separate at all. I had this whole experience of individuation just so that I could return non-judgmentally to nothingness, but everythingness, because the 12th house contains the seeds of all of the other ones, because this 12th house is the subconscious. It's the thing that you can't quite see. It's the ineffable. It's the unreachable. It's the moment at the end of life where all of the scenery comes back to you and gives you the recap of the time that you spent. And it's disorienting and comforting all at once. Because in this, the 12th house experience, everything resides and nothing resides. And as it's represented by the fish, the two fish, I've gotten so poetic here because I can't help myself. My 12th house is Cancer, and it's Chiron. Chiron being the wound, and that I've found myself in my wound, healing myself with the waters of the ineffable, with the experience of being humbled with, I came here coming into a life where I thought I had to fight to become myself and make myself valid, and that's true. I've done that, and what that's actually left me with the understanding of is that I'm so special, I'm not special at all. And because I'm not special at all, I'm so necessary. And because I'm so necessary, I don't have to be anything. I am the Shekinah. This video just got so weird, right? Here you're like, wow, this is really cool. I'm learning so much about astrology. And then you're like, what? But this is me weaving the magic. The 12th house can't be totally explained. Depending on what is there, this is the thing that you need to reach for. And it's going to confuse the hell out of you until you reach in with all of yourself, with your whole self, and then let it go. It's the paradox of being a human. It's fully holding yourself completely and then leaning back into the ocean and floating and feeling the same water that's in you outside of you, holding you. And that's what the astrology chart is. It's the ocean holding a blueprint in a symbolism mirror for you to see yourself. And it is my absolute favorite language to speak. It is the romance of my life to love astrology. And I'm glad I had the time, made the time, took the time to make this video. And I really hope you liked it. And I really hope you take me up on my offer to reach out and get a reading. So I'll leave the link in my Etsy shop. If you can pay and you'd like to pay, to book a reading through there. And if you can't pay and you're willing to exchange a pay it forward of some sort, I'll put my email in the details so you can send me an email and we can work something out. Because I love you. I love myself, and you are another me. And the more of us that can be happy, liberated, loving ourselves, not stepbrothers hugging ourselves because of the tension of wanting so badly to embrace us, but feeling like the us is the problem. It's not. Please let me show you how you're not the problem, and let me soften the ability for you to just embrace yourself. Because the more of us that embrace ourselves, the deeper my own self-embrace can get. So selfishly, let me read your chart so I can love myself, please. Yeah, that's it for now. I love you. Can't wait to make the next video. I'll see you there. Hit that subscribe button and the liking and the blah, 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 algorithm stuff. Thanks. Take care.